Thank you, thank you. I am Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and I am joined by Assembly Member Bobby Carroll. State Senator Kevin Parker has been part of this initiative, as well as my good friend Council Member Brad Lander. We have a representative from his office that's here, and community boards 6 and 7 also have been really supportive of what we are attempting to do here. But most importantly, we cannot ignore the rock stars of this venture that we're doing, and that's the NYU Wagner. The team is really amazing. It just really shows the partnership between students and our learning institutions and real life problems that we can solve just by bringing them on board. So I want to thank Sebastian, Brent, Caroline, and Efitalia, right? I want to thank you all for your participation and your help in such a complicated endeavor that they just made simple, and I cannot tell them how much Brooklynites appreciate them for that. Today we're releasing a letter, and I'll call partnered with NYU Wagner Capstone Study PX Forward, like we like to call it. It's a corridor study of the Prospect Expressway, which we partner with the graduate students from NYU's Planning School in the public release of our letter to the New York State Department of Transportation, calling on the agency to commission a design competition to reimagine the corridor of the 21st century. When you look at what we have here and what has taken place in this community and throughout the entire city, it is calling for almost a reimagination as we go back and undo some of the horrific actions that took place many years ago when we divided communities and neighborhoods in a very real and significant way. In 1953, before we've had this trench through a community, Windsor Terrace and Park Slope was a thriving community that was really ripped apart by this expressway. 400 structures had to be destroyed, 1,200 families had been displaced and had to make way for this highway. It is our desire to undo the wrongs of the Robert Moses era and reunite not only the communities physically, but emotionally, creating a neighborhood where you no longer are divided by a roadway that went through. Beyond the resultant displacement of human homes, Expressway disconnected these communities, and our goal is to reconnect these communities in a very real way. After an extensive community mapping and engagement process, which is crucial, we had a series of conversations where the community was very much the community was very much involved to hear their input, and the neighborhood to come together to decide how do we reimagine this space. The neighborhood-wide recommendations include activating underutilized streets in dead zones, increasing transportation options in the neighborhood by introducing bike share and potentially modifying express bus, improving enforcement and the biggie routing of trucks. Just about everyone in this community would tell you the ordeal of dealing with trucks moving throughout the neighborhoods and really going off the truck routes, and it's really a true concern here. And enhancing pedestrian experience through street safety improvements. Strengthening our parks along this corridor, which I take often. You see that there are different parks that are disconnected, the bridges, the walkways, the entire area. There's a lot of imagination to deal with park space and in open space. We want to improve the experience on pedestrian bridges through streetscaping, paintings, or public art. We want to leverage the end-of-life improvements of bridges to improve transportation and study the usability, safety, and condition of on and off ramps. This is a very important analysis that our students and staff participated in. The goal is consider.
Speaking of the devil, on cue.
The goal is consider new uses for the shoulder space in the highway trench by championing the development of Prospect Path, and that's our goal. We imagine this as the Prospect Path, a place where we can have linear parks running along the length of the entire expressway. And so this feasibility study is really a call to action to the Department of Transportation. We hope that this begins the conversation of having the Department of Transportation on the state level move forward with this recommendation. Every big idea starts from a kernel of truth, and that is why we're calling on the state DOT to build on this plan by commissioning design competition to truly imagine the corridor. These students have laid the foundation. It's time for us to build on that foundation and turn this roadway that divides a community into a place that can unite a community in a very real way. We cannot thank them enough, and we cannot thank all those who participated in this endeavor. We believe this is a starting point for many of the roadways that have traditionally, through previous times, have divided communities instead of bringing them together. And the sky's the limit. Everything from decking the pathways, everything from building parks along the side. It's about how do we find the right way of reuniting communities. So I cannot thank the school enough and the entire team, the students, the staff. This is a very important initiative and a partnership between government and our educational facilities. I want to now turn it over to the senator that represents this area, Senator Kevin Parker, and then we'll hear from Assembly Member Bobby Carroll.
Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Kevin Parker. I represent the 21st District where we are now, which includes part of Canarsie and part of Flatlands, but principally East Flatbush and Flatbush, Midwood, Ditmas Park, Kensington, Windsor Terrace, and Park Slope. I'm the ranking member on the Energy and Telecommunications Committee as well as the Democratic Whip in the New York State Senate. And so first, let me thank the Borough President Eric Adams for bringing us together. And as you see, this is really important. He's very choked up by this study and what it's going to mean for this Brooklyn community. This reimagining the Prospect Expressway study has really been literally groundbreaking. And we're certainly grateful collectively, and I feel confident and comfortable speaking on not just my behalf, but the behalf of my colleagues, to the graduate students of NYU's Wagner School of Public Service for conducting this study. As you know, next to the New School for Social Research, they're the second most important graduate school in the entire, you can probably figure out where I went. My chief of staff did go to graduated from the Wagner School, so they're doing a good job. But it's, as you know, it's a great program. This study is certainly indicative of the kind of important work that has come out of this graduate school. And this PX Forward study highlights the solutions that will allow us to improve the connectivity and increase mobility and overall improve the quality of life for residents in the South Slope and Windsor Terrace. It's really the hope of that we'll get the New York State Department of Transportation and those here in the city to take a real deep look at the recommendations that are made in this study and take them into consideration. We certainly stand here united behind these recommendations and hope that it will, again, as you heard the Borough President indicate, will lead to a set of improvements in this community that will connect this community. Currently, the expressway has limited highway access and separates the South Slope and Windsor Terrace. The study is a well drawn out plan which will result in, again, benefits both in terms of accessibility, connectivity, and safety. And so we're really proud to kind of stand together to really highlight these important improvements. Over 85,000 motorists use this roadway daily, and we want to ensure that modernizing the roads will improve their commute and their safety. As you know, safety is a priority, and so the plan provides recommendations not just for car safety, but more importantly, pedestrian safety and cyclist safety. We want to make sure we can do all we need to do to correct the past mistakes, but also address some of the issues that might not have been addressed or simply overlooked in the initial design of this expressway. And so I stand in unison with my colleagues because we believe that this was going to bring together important economic, social, and public benefits for all of these communities and the larger Brooklyn community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Assemblymember Robert Carroll, and I have the pleasure of representing the 44th District in the New York State Legislature. And those are the communities of Park Slope, Windsor Terrace, Kensington, Victorian Flatbush, Ditmas Park, and Borough Park. I grew up just a few blocks from the Prospect Expressway, and my entire extended family still lives just a few blocks from this highway. I am so happy to stand here with our borough president, our state senator, and the Wagner school students who have brought forward a plan that would re-stitch a neighborhood that was cut in half almost 60 years ago. Being able to mitigate the damage of one of Robert Mose's highway projects is of great importance to me, and I think everyone who lives in the surrounding neighborhoods. To mitigate the environmental impact of this highway, to mitigate the truck traffic that is coming by us continuously from 20th Street and right off of 19th Street where there's an exit, to mitigate the sound pollution, and to allow the tens of thousands of residents of Park Slope and Windsor Terrace to be able to walk freely within their neighborhood is of the utmost importance. And so I commend all the people who brought us here today. Just up the road from us on 19th Street, when I was in high school, a friend of mine who went to high school with me was killed on that road because of this highway. This highway has been a hindrance and to all the residents of Windsor Terrace and Park Slope since its existence. Finding a way to mitigate the truck traffic, the pollution, the sound pollution is of the utmost importance, and so I'm glad to be here with all of you today in support of this great plan.
Thank you. And representing Councilman Brad Lander's office.
Hi, the council member is sorry he couldn't be here today, and I just wanted to read a statement on his behalf. I'm sorry I can't be here today for the unveiling of the results of the NYU Wagner study, but I want to express my gratitude to the students and to the Brooklyn Borough President's Office for the work they are doing to make the Prospect Expressway greener, safer, and better connected. The improvements offered in the study and the design competition to realize them will go a long way to improve the quality of life for the 45,000 neighbors who live in the surrounding neighborhoods. We must continue to invest in urban redevelopment like this for a better New York for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we want to hear from our students on how they carried out the research and some of the recommendations that came out.
I know, but we're going to show you how to stand in the press conference. You're getting a shot. No, it's fine. Don't worry. We'll figure it out.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're not blocking.
Thank you, Borough President Adams, for giving our team the opportunity to collaborate on this project with your office. Sebastian Koss, Caroline Perry, Eftahia Thermopoulos, and myself, Brent Ginsberg, are a team of 4 former graduate students who recently completed the Master of Urban Planning program at NYU's Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service. During the 2017-2018 academic year, we worked in partnership with the Office of the Brooklyn Borough President on PX Forward, our culminating Capstone project. The NYU Capstone program is designed to bridge classroom experience and real-world experiences by pairing student teams with external clients to complete a year-long consulting assignment around a contemporary planning issue. From September 2017 to May 2018, the team conducted a rigorous corridor study on the Prospect Expressway, taking the time to understand its history, its function in the larger arterial network, and its relationship to the surrounding neighborhoods. Throughout the process, we reached out to 30 public agencies, elected officials, local residents, business owners, and experts in the field of urban planning, and engaged directly with 22 of them. The knowledge and guidance provided by these stakeholders was critically important in helping shape the final report, and we would like to publicly thank everyone who dedicated their time to this effort Our community engagement efforts culminated in a public workshop held this past March at the Church of the Holy Name, thanks to the generous support of Father Ryan. There, participants were given the chance to weigh in on how the expressway impacts their lives and to reimagine certain aspects of the highway corridor. This past May, we released the report's findings to the team at Borough Hall and suggested several ways the corridor along the Prospect Expressway could be redesigned to more readily benefit the local community. Recommendations included enhancing pedestrian bridges, developing a cyclist and pedestrian path along the length of the expressway, strengthening small parks in the corridor, and opportunities for enlarging pedestrian decks over the expressway. We are grateful to have collaborated with the dedicated team at Borough Hall to complete this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Great job. Great job. We're open at this time to any questions if there are any.
Yeah, don't go nowhere. You did the study.
That's a good question. I think it's imperative that the State Department of Transportation, after they build on what these students have performed for us, to come up with a cost estimate of what it would take to make this a reality. But we cannot over or underemphasize the need of open green space, park space, and the reconnectivity of these communities.
For the students, did you guys consider cons when you were creating a recommendation?
Come stand at the mic. I told you guys don't go nowhere.
We did consider costs a bit, but overall, our recommendations, we tried to bucket into near, middle term, and long term recommendations, just because we didn't have the time to do true financial analysis on the recommendations. It was definitely kind of a broad menu of options that we wanted to present, and then if the borough president or state DOT wanted to kind of investigate any further, each one of those would require its own analysis on the finances.
What would you say if somebody at the state or a critic was concerned that this was a student-led study and not, a commission study from the professional?
Sure. Like I said, we didn't do this on our own. We engaged and met with many planning experts who have done similar projects to this, and we also spoke with many public officials as well who are used to dealing with public infrastructure projects and city agencies. So our recommendations, I think, were very much founded in a realistic basis based on the people who've done these projects in New York City.
And I just want to interject that oftentimes government partner with institutions where students lead some of these studies. Often when I was in John Jay as a police officer, you will often have student-led studies, and we can't forget the 4th Avenue study was a student-led study, started out as a student-led study. So this is the foundation that really moved Department of Transportation into the right direction of this is the start of the conversation. They need to pick up from where these students left off.
What's the low-hanging fruit here? What's something that the city could do right off the bat to provide some of the things you're looking for? Is there anything?
I think that when you look at some of the parks, how do we use some of the bridges that cross over this expressway? How do we utilize the parks better? I believe that those are some starting points that are low-hanging fruits. How do we put some greenery along those bridges with seats where people can sit down? Just starting the process of reconnecting these neighborhoods. I believe that the Assemblyman said it best. We're trying to restitch the neighborhoods that the administrations many years ago during the 50s ripped apart. I'm sorry? We're going to send a letter with this study to the New York State Department of Transportation. We're not already? Okay, staff know more than I do. The communication went out to the New York State Department of Transportation, and so now it's up to them to pick up this study and to reflect on what we're saying and do an analysis over the study. And Diana Rayner, the former deputy borough president, this was something that she had a vision of many years ago when she wanted to deck over the BQE in the Williamsburg area. And this is a continuation of that mindset of how do we better utilize open space. That is something that all our communities are in a demand for, and we believe one way of doing it is to re-examine how we have this canyon that is running through two communities. This is not Mother Nature's canyon. This is created by the likes of Robert Moses, whose mission was really dividing many communities. We want to replace that division.
Can everyone look back this way? Thank you.
Oh,